Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Vina, host of the SmartTechCheck podcast. Today is Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. The Internet of Things, otherwise known as IoT, is a technological revolution that transcends mere convenience, becoming an indispensable force shaping our future. By seamlessly connecting devices and systems, IoT enhances efficiency, facilitates data driven decision making, and transforms industries. From smart homes to industrial automation, the IoT's market is vast, ushering in a new era of interconnectedness. Its significance lies not only in convenience, but in revolutionizing how we live, work, and innovate, heralding a more connected and intelligent world. To discuss one major leader in this space, Infineon Technologies, and how they're approaching the IoT space, I'm thrilled to be joined by Kamesh Medepalli, Global Head of Infineon Systems Research and Innovation Team. Kamesh, good morning and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm doing great. It's a wonderful day here in California.
Yes, it is. I'm in California. I'm not in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm actually in San Jose, not too far away from where your offices are. But I'm thrilled to have you on because this is such an incredibly important topic. You know, Infineon Technologies has been involved in IoT for quite some time, even before it was called IoT, to be honest with you.
Yes, it
And
was.
I'm
Yes.
sure you'll talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, you know, when I have someone on the podcast for the first time, I love to talk a little bit about their background. So let me do that. Let me pull up a quick slide here that you can kind of opine on your background and honestly, some of the value, your experience set to the company.
Yeah. So thank you. So, I started, let's say, my academic life back at Stanford. That's where I got my PhD. Also did some work as a consulting faculty there. I still maintain a connection, try to go teach a lecture or two on IoT every year. And then I've been through, Bell Labs, through the, golden days of cellular wireless research back in the East Coast. And then we came to California, let's say in the early 2000s. Joined a startup called BC, which then got acquired by Broadcom, which then got acquired by Avago, and then the Cypress acquired the IoT business unit of Broadcom. That's where I would say our IoT journey also started, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And then I held different roles, like instead of just purely engineering role, I was the VP of systems, and then took on a more of a technology and innovation CTO type role for the business line there, and then most recently working as the global head of systems research and innovation for the connected secure systems division, which is a mouthful, which is one of the leading divisions of Infineon. Yeah,
Right.
so lots of things to talk about. This is a very deep and passionate topic, for all of us, at many of us at Infineon. So thank you.
No, and what's funny, I like to tell people, friends, family of mine that doesn't live in California, that you're not truly part of Silicon Valley unless you've worked for a company and you've been acquired 4 or 5 different times.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, this is my 17th year at Infineon. That's how I like to start the conversation with our Infineon colleagues. I've been through like 5 M&As, in the last 17 years. It's been a pretty, interesting and a very, very wonderful ride.
I should start doing it on the podcast where I put a bullet in there. It's like, how many times have you been part of an acquisition? But I won't do that. Let's jump into the topics here. And we're very specifically calling this podcast "The Future of IoT" because what we're experiencing right now. And while a lot of people think, oh, it's a mature category, it is not a mature category. It's growing very rapidly. But let's talk about Infineon's legacy and how exactly did they become a leader in the IoT space? Because as I kind of mentioned before, they've been kind of playing in IoT even before it was called IoT. So let's kind of
Yes.
go into that and get your perspective.
Super. Yeah. So I'll break this down to, I would say, four different categories. One is strategic investments. The second one is broad product portfolio. Third one is innovation and thought leadership. And the last one, which is, I would say, very important one, is also culture. So let me take you on the first topic of strategic investments back in to 2016 timeframe, right? About 8 years back in time. uh, the Broadcom's IoT business got acquired by Cypress for just about $550 million. And I'm showing in this little graphic here that on the x-axis is the different important events in time, and the y-axis is the market cap of the parent company. So at that time, on July 5th, 2016, because I remember that as one of very important days in my life, I had the privilege of, I should say, of being one of the founding leaders of the IoT team that came into Cyprus. So the market cap was just about $3 billion. And then, thanks to the great team that we brought along with the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth technology, which was world class, we kept innovating on it and complementing it with the PSOC MCUs that Cypress had, along with the capsens, the sense technology, which is also super strong in, and the memory technologies. It created a much nicer, wider set of things that the IoT would embrace, and then you can see how the market clearly reciprocated, and we increased the market cap about 2.5 times there. And then Infineon acquired us for about $9.6 billion in 2020 April. And then you can see at that time, Infineon's market cap was let's say close to 20 billion. Today it has grown almost again another 2.5 to 3 times to north of $50 billion. So this is what we like to call it as unprecedented value creation, where you take something, you nurture it, you add more complementary things to it, and you do this in a strategic way. You can keep increasing this, right? And I'm sure you've been in this industry long enough to see that these type of success stories are not happening every day. People can maybe replicate this success once, but not twice in a row over a span of 8 years. So we are incredibly proud of what we have started, and how a lot of credit should be given to our, let's say, acquirees or acquirers. How they nurture us and how they do the strategic investments and then grow. And here again, Infineon is super good there, and I'll talk a little bit about the culture in a minute. But the breadth of the portfolio now with the Infineon acquisition is super wide compared to even whatever we have at Cypress. Now we have a lot
Yes.
of power electronics, a lot of sensors, current sensors, magnetic sensors, and so on. Carbon dioxide, MEMS, microphones, radar sensors, and then automotive is such a very strong field for Infineon. We are dominant in that space. Industrial, high voltage, power conversion, transmission systems, and EV electrification. A lot of the awesome things that are happening in the industry, we suddenly get access to with the Infineon acquisition. So, and you can see the numbers purely in the top line growth of Infineon. We are more like we just crossed $17 billion, $17 billion of revenue, like more than 27% profit margin. We did not think that this would be this good. And you can see the investors also reflecting on that quite well. So what we call it Infineon as product to system, we dubbed as P2S, is playing out, and combined with how we create a more of a system level thinking. I'm a systems guy, I always loved systems. So creating the system level view with putting all the Infineon stuff together and unleashing new value to our customers with the software. Increased amount of emphasis on software has been very evident in the last 8 years to us. So we've been continuing to do that. So that's about the breadth of the portfolio. The third one is innovation and thought leadership. It's not like we brought in a base set of let's say Wi-Fi Bluetooth technology and we're not innovating on it. We continue to innovate on it in a very significant way. We have hundreds of patents just in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth that we have filed in the last 7 years, right? And then we take also thought leadership and shaping of the markets very seriously, because for IoT to be really truly successful, it needs more than Infineon. We need global standards. We need good ecosystems which have very strong interoperabilities. That's why we are proud to be on the board of directors of the Connectivity Standards Alliance, which created, for example, this Matter protocol, and also new
Yes.
things like, Alira, which we can talk also a little bit later. We are on the board of NFC Forum. We're on the chair of the IoT group of the Wi-Fi Alliance, and the list can go on and on and on. So very, very impactful externally. Last but not the least is culture. As some people say, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you could have the greatest strategy, you could have the greatest technology and the people and the innovation, but if you don't have the culture to really put it all together, the company will fail. And this is where I would say a lot of kudos to Jochen as our new CEO and the management team. He rolled out this mandate called Spirit, which is a cultural topic within the company, and he talked about it in the annual press conference last year. He talks about how we can bring, let's say, at the risk of being a little bit stereotypical, the North American or the Silicon Valley culture of like chop chop, show me the bottom line, where's the money, with, let's say, more process oriented, sensitive to people and cultures, and slow and steady of the European style. How do you bring it all together in a way that you are performing competitively, at the same time you're really enriching the people and valuing the people, and bringing the best out of the people? Because one could argue at the end of the day, it's really the people that make the company,
Yes.
right? So you got to really balance out the people and the performance, and there are very, very good things that are happening within the company. And I feel like whatever I show in this graph is just the beginning. I think the future growth and the potential that I see at Infineon is even more incredible than
Right.
this story itself is already pretty good, but I would say future is still a lot more brighter, I would say.
Well, and interesting, I really want to get into this is that kind of looking forward. But before we get into that, the thing that's always
Yeah.
been intriguing to me about Infineon, and yes, it has an incredibly wide portfolio. I can't open my email in the morning without seeing an email from you guys. We've announced this, we've announced that, and
Yeah.
you're playing in so many different markets that
Yeah.
sometimes as an analyst, it's really hard to wrap your heads, your hands around, your arms around just
Yeah.
the sheer breadth of what you guys do. Now, the interesting thing is, and it really goes into some of these products that we'll probably see over the next 5 to 10 years that we can't even conceive of right now, honestly. But
Yeah.
the thing that's interesting to me is that when you're putting a 15 or 20 or $25 solution, I'm just making a number up, in a $70,000 EV, you know, you know, a car vendor cannot play games with, hey, I have this $70,000 car that's supposed to come out in January, and this smart solution, as cool as it might be, is jeopardizing the rollout of the car. So it's not about off the shelf parts. It's design in. I worked for Synaptics for 7 years. I know a little bit about the importance of being a trusted design partner. So that's really, really important. And I think it's going to be very, very important, especially as you get into these new connected devices that may be coming down the pipe 5 to 10 years from now. So let's talk a little bit about that, Kamesh.
Very good. I think it's a wonderful segue to the next set of questions here. So, what can we expect? I think, like you already touched upon it. I think, one of the things that I did not mention before, but I think, very critical role that we are playing is on security, and how do you make our devices a lot more secure and trustworthy. And this is where I would say traditional Infineon strengths. Cypress was, yes, we were already doing some on security, but I mean, compared to what Infineon had, it was at a totally different level. So if you take like a credit card, chances are 2 or 3 times it has the Infineon chip in it. If you have a US passport, which I'm sure you do, we 100% of the US passports have the Infineon security chip in them. So we ship more than 250 million for the US government and many governments worldwide right now. So I think, security is one important tenet which helps makes things, a lot more trustworthy. And I think as the devices proliferate, the role of security gets even more higher and higher. And it's also a very complex topic. I think people understand the need of security only when you get, let's say, attacked, as a security attack. And it's a very, intricate topic. So it's very difficult for people to understand what is the level of security. So what we did in the last 1 year is we worked with the Connectivity Standards Alliance, created a product security working group, and in parallel also worked with the US government to make sure that they understand the need of security along with other regulations worldwide. But in particular, the US government has been super aggressive in embracing the ideas that we have provided, and it all culminated in the launch of the US Cyber Trust mark. It was
Well,
in the White House.
and,
Yeah,
and, and,
yeah,
let me, and let me jump in there for 1 second, because what's really, you mentioned the CSA, which has got this Matter initiative. And I think most people, if they're aware of what Matter is outside the industry, they tend to think I don't have to worry about using the Alexa name or the Siri name, which is great, because you
yeah.
get if you have a multi digital assistant house like I do, it gets very confusing. Okay, what device do I what word do I have to invoke to get the assistant to work?
Yeah.
But Matter is much more than that. Matter maintains a minimum level of security with IoT devices. I am
Yes.
sure that you guys have played a very profound role in that, because let's face it, the average home today
Yes.
has 30, 40, 50
30,
devices,
40. Yes,
you
easily.
know, and it's very, it's very easy, especially if you went out and bought if let's say you bought a smart light from a company in China that may not have the robust technology standards that an American company might have or a Taiwanese company might have. So this is really, really important. So I just
Yes.
wanted to throw that out there because I just think it's critical.
No, no, very good. Yes. And I think you're right. I mean, not only were we, deep in the Matter specification itself, but we were leading several of the security tiger teams within the Matter standard to make sure that there is a minimal level of security that is provided. So once you have a device's Matter certified, the customer does not need to worry about, okay, what is the level of security. Okay, you
Yeah,
already can trust that it has the basic level of security, which is giving you the protection. So the cyber trust mark is the same wine, so basically, the Biden administration, made it as a big event. We were invited to it, to the White House, and it was a pretty exciting event. uh, for every, let's say, regular consumer out there, if you see a US cyber trust mark, which is now coming from the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, there's a certain level of trust that the end consumer can then say that, okay, yeah, I can trust this device. This is not going to get hijacked easily, and
yes,
it's not going to be getting compromised. So I think that's a pretty important one. A similar one, but for a totally different application, is for the car access. You talked about $70,000 cars. We have made this acquisition for a company called 3DB, who's one of the pioneers in the ultra wideband technology. Yes, we had Wi-Fi, we have Bluetooth, but ultra wideband technology is also very interesting, primarily for security applications. If you have your phone in your car and you're coming in towards, phone in your pocket and you're coming close to your car, the car and the phone can automatically authenticate and then can prove with ultra wideband technology that it's no bad guy who's acting as you. Because if you have a traditional key fob, it's very easy to do what is called as a relay station attack. Somebody can just hijack your signal and can act like they're close to the car when they're actually not close to the car.
right.
So, within the connected car consortium, there is, ultra wideband technology. BLE is not quite there, but the BLE community is also working on things like channel sounding, which is their answer to this. And then you also have NFC technology, which is, I would say, in most of these IoT applications, I think it's a hugely underrated technology given what it can actually do. So let's say you went to a basketball game or a wonderful concert, you took a lot of pictures, uploaded a lot of them to your Instagram account or whatever, and then you come to your parking lot to drive back home. Lo and behold, your phone battery is dead. How do you have this ultra wideband technology, for example, but the phone is dead. What do you do? So that's where NFC technology, which works with energy harvesting technique, right? I mean, you tap your phone to the car door handle, and the door handle has something called the NFC reader. It gives you the enough energy for the phone to work as a tag, and then you are authenticating and you get inside the car. Now you plug in your charging cable, and then life is good again. So I think you know Infineon also having NFC technology makes it very complementary. Now you can see NFC readers, BLE, ultra wideband, in addition to the Wi-Fi and security and microcontrollers. It's all, the story starts coming together in a very, very coherent manner.
And what I love about that, by the way, it's all industry
Yeah.
standard stuff. It's not like, hey,
Yes.
folks have to implement an Infineon design capability. You are very
Yes.
much a standards organization.
Exactly. Yeah. The other things that you will see in the future, I would say, is contextual awareness. How we interact with things. There's lots of, I would say, wireless sensing or proximity sensing that will happen automatically without you having to click on a lot of buttons, which you could do. But so I think this is where I would say AI being important, and AI coming to the edge is very critical. Complementary technology, yet another complementary technology to the wireless sensing that you are doing. You could do it using radar, you could do it using Wi-Fi, could be doing ultra wideband, or it could be also using something called captions that we have. We can also still do gestures and other cool things with that one. So, and then the localization, right? So I think contextual awareness, how we interact with smart things around us, is also going to change very, very well in a
Well,
big way.
and,
Last, yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Kamesh. Sorry.
yeah. I just have one more thing on how it will future will be. I would say, as you know, Infineon is big on decarbonization and digitalization. So we're obviously not like, we're not like a non-profit organization, but we believe in having a bigger sense of purpose to what we do, right? So I think decarbonization is a topic that resonates to, with a lot of us. And, we should just show you a future example of the types of devices that you can envision. We just launched this project called Project No Battery, where you would have devices which can just work without batteries. So if you just take a simple, like let's say your Roku remote or something, this is how it will look like when it has batteries. But you could have a much sleeker device which will run forever and just harvesting the local, light. It doesn't need solar or anything. There are very intelligent, very capable photovoltaic cells that are out there. And with our low power Bluetooth microcontrollers that we have, we can create a system solution which you don't have to replace the batteries. Not only is it convenient, but it is also good for the environment. You can do a simple math. This innocent looking device, it takes, let's say, two AAA batteries over a year, and then over 7 years, let's say you change your TV or whatever, very quickly the math adds up to something like 160 or 190,000 pounds of CO2 emissions just from this simple device.
No,
Now you're talking
huge,
billions of IoT devices. Like, it all adds up, right? So we got to, as a community, as a scientific community, we got to work on the harder problem of, like, batteries are easy way to solve it, but can we just harvest the ambient energy and try to really produce products which are devoid of batteries, which is good for the environment, lowers your cost, and also improves your ease of use. It's all music for
no, it's all upside. And
yes.
we have a few minutes left here. I want to jump into
Yes.
the AI, because you said it. It only took 20 minutes, but you can't do I can't do a pod. If I did a podcast with Chick-fil-A, they would mention AI during the podcast. I mean, it's such a
Yes.
humongous topic, and the
Yes.
thing that to me, it annoys me a bit, because AI has really been around for quite some time. OpenAI, I mean ChatGPT, and
Yes.
all the drama that happened last week with a certain AI firm. We won't tell
Yes.
who they are, but the reality, it's been around for quite some time, and now consumers and even obviously business users are starting to become acclimated to the opportunity.
Yeah.
But AI has been around for quite some time. But I want you to address, from an Infineon standpoint, how do you believe AI is going to play a central role, especially as IoT continues to grow?
Very good. I think it's definitely one of the most important technologies of our time. Touches everything, like you said. I think from an IoT perspective, it's really intelligence at the edge, which is the big paradigm shift. I think you doing big amounts of inferences in the let's say the Google cloud or the Amazon cloud or OpenAI. There's a place and need for that, but really the edge is where the new implications for IoT are. So things like tiny ML, like hey, please don't say for every single AI thing I need a big neural network processor. Yes, there is some applications which will require it, but we take our PSOC product 4000T that we just released. It just has a Cortex M0 Plus, but it actually runs AI in a tiny AI mode, running our algorithms that are tuned for liquid level sensing and doing some really new applications that no other sense technology could have been able to do before. And then as you grow up in the application space, if you want to do voice or computer vision or some other anomaly detection, yes, we also announced the PSOC Edge product, for example, which can have a big NPU. Like we have a ARM U55 in there. There's also other DSP and which is required for the feature extraction portion along with the AI portion. So I would say AI clearly has a very big role, and pairing it with an application knowledge, for example, security. You can take a picture. You can take a picture of a dog and then run it to a classification algorithm, and after putting some surgically placed noise sources on the pixels, for a human, it just still looks like a dog, but AI algorithm for classification will suddenly say it's a horse, not a dog, and you can easily fake it. So what type of security threats exist with AI is also something that is happening on the edge. So you have to go figure this out, right? So that's why we also made this interesting acquisition. We acquired this company called Imagimob, who's one of the leaders in creating software tools, for improving the models and creating the edge inference models. Because, like you said, AI has been there for some time, and if you talk to a purist, on a flight on the other day, I was talking to this person, and she said, "Hey, AI is just a fancy name for statistics." Technically, she's right, but the practice of it is you have to bring in the software and the hardware tools and the
Yes.
application know-how to make it all fit together and make it useful for the customer. So even things like generative AI will come to the edge sooner than we think. And the problems that we have with the what are called as hallucination biases there need to be figured out. Reinforcement learning is another algorithmic technique which we don't talk about much, but I think it really will help improve things. And that's why there are also certain AI regulations, both not only in the US but also in the EU, on how we regulate the use of AI in a more broader sense. So I would say lots and lots more to talk about than we have the time
Oh yeah,
today.
no,
But
no, no. We only have about a
fascinating
minute
topic.
left here, and we only have about a minute left here. We're certainly going to do more on this topic because the AI is too important, and Infineon, obviously, like many other companies, see the opportunity. But I do
Yeah,
want you to comment on one last thing for about a minute. I'll give you a minute to comment on this. Is on the importance of AI from a privacy standpoint. All the things that people, hey, they're all a lot of consumers, even business users, are they've got that bright shiny object mentality right now. I can't believe what I can do with an AI infused solution.
yeah,
But there are privacy issues. There are deep fake issues. That, I will assert that we haven't seen anything yet. Wait till we get into the presidential election next year. You're going to see stuff that will blow people's mind because the capability is so profound. Give me it's really a non-technological question. Talk a little bit about Infineon's commitment to privacy, making sure that technology is used in a responsible way, because you do play a role, in that. You're not just
yes,
to sell a solution and whoever uses that in their end user product, hey, you wash your hands of it. Because I do know a lot about Infineon at a corporate level and how deeply the company cares about those type of topics. So let me give you a minute just to kind of just summarize how Infineon approaches privacy and making sure the technology is not abused.
yeah. So wonderful topic again. Being leaders in security, right? For us, it's very natural to think about privacy. For us, security and privacy kind of go very well together. So whenever we try to take security, we also take privacy into consideration very quickly. So if you take things like contextual awareness and being more aware of your surroundings, anybody can do this with cameras. We actually don't want to do this with cameras because of privacy reasons again. So if there are wireless signals, like could be radar, could be Wi-Fi, could be ultra wideband, if they are able to give you equivalent piece of information with more advances in like AI, and if you can do it at the edge, right? Anytime the data goes out to the cloud, people and consumers do get nervous about it. Hey, what if my data is hijacked and somebody else is impersonating as me or whatever? So being this into a secure system that you build on the edge, that it is trustworthy and it has let's say passive sensors which are not privacy invading, and you bring in enough smarts, right? Don't again throw hardware at the problem and then try to make these complex devices, but intelligent hardware with the software, then you got the right recipe. That's how our bounding boxes. We want to work in this realm so that our customers and consumers at large feel super comfortable with technology
Yes.
advances. AI is not some bad thing is going to come and take over the world or whatever. I think we created it. We need to understand how to contain it and make it useful, not just for you and me, but for the greater good of everybody.
Yes. Now we're going to talk about this more. You've been a thrilling guest to have on the podcast, Kamesh, again, and thank you very much for your time. We're definitely going to pursue this topic again. Thanks for taking the time to join me for today's podcast for a viewing and listening audience. Thanks for making the Smart Tech Check podcast part of your day or commute. Please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe buttons at the end of today's podcast, or use these convenient on-screen QR codes to connect with me and follow up on some of the things we've talked about with Kamesh. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mark Vena Tech Guy. And until next time, have a great week. And Kamesh, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Yeah.